Hi, I'm Penny Flannery. I'm Development Officer for Viticulture with the New South Wales Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development. I'm here at Angullong Vineyard near Orange, New South Wales today, and we're looking at doing some passes in the Pelonk pull behind harvester for mechanical shaking for rot reduction in our vineyards. This is a regional program funded by the Greater ACT New South Wales Wine Region and funded by Wine Australia. The idea of this program is to utilise another piece of machinery that is commonly on vineyards for another purpose. So in this case is to reduce the amount of trash that accumulates within the bunches and therefore reduces the amount of rot that occurs, mainly botrytis, at the end of the season at harvest time. Mark Allen has kindly come all the way from New Zealand to talk to us about this.
Hello, my name is Mark Allen. I'm from New Zealand, from Marlborough, and there I run a independent consultancy business for viticulture. I got involved with mechanical shaking back in 2001 when we were looking to reduce crops after the 2008 global crisis. So we were looking to reduce our crops. We thought out of that we would manage that okay. The wine styles we thought wouldn't be affected, but we were quite surprised to see the botrytis, which we thought would be worse, was in fact actually better. So roll on another 5 or 6 years after a 3-year trial, and the main focus became on botrytis control rather than on crop level control. So we spent the last 8 years really focusing on settings to get the best results out of botrytis control. And we've now got that down to a pretty fine art, and it's pretty much accepted with most vineyards in Marlborough now as a normal tool practice after fruit set and before pre-bunch closure.
So we've also got Stephen McKenzie here from Angullong Vineyard. He's the vineyard supervisor here, and he does a lot of the setup for the mechanical shaking, and he and Mark are now going to talk through the setup for us.
Yeah, so I arrived this morning and to see how they're going on the setup. There were no rods on the harvester. We got those in the right position, which actually were the same positions as they've used last year. And I instantly picked up on the fact that these guys have got it pretty well sussed. So over to you, Stephen. You're pretty happy with the results?
Yeah, definitely. So the parameters that we use in the harvester setup is roughly around 480 RPM on the harvesting head. And our travel speed, we've learnt to be around 5.5 kilometres is a pretty optimal range. And otherwise we run pretty gently on the acceleration at 5% and the amplitude around 75. So these are the numbers that we use on our Pelonk harvester, and we've tweaked and perfected them over the last few seasons and seen them to use to pretty good result. We run quite similar settings on different varieties and just tweak them slightly sometimes if we see a need to.
We try to alter as few inputs as possible. So now we set the grind speed, we set the beater speed, we set the pinch, which is the gap between the two rods, and then we set the acceleration speed and the, what's the last one we do? The
amplitude.
Amplitude, yep. That's right. So once you've done one run, you just note how it's coming off and just adjust one thing, probably the beater speed to start off with, and then adjust that till you get it right. We need to be sure that we're getting the best advantage out of shaking. So to do that, we measure the trash that's been shaken out of the canopy with white trays underneath the vines, and that gives us a good indicator of what's coming out. But we want to take it right to the limit of getting the most amount of trash out. So we then select 50 bunches from the trial rows and 50 bunches from the control rows and shake those and just see how much residual trash is left in those bunches. And it's a good tool for fine-tuning the harvester setting. So that's how we measure the amount of trash coming out.
Loosely speaking, we see a reduction in botrytis around 50% in the varieties that we do. And so that's variable depending on the season. But yeah, largely in the higher pressure seasons, it's really made a pretty dramatic difference for a relatively low cost in our situation. So for a single pass of the harvester at 5 kilometres an hour is quite an economical way of controlling that extra risk. So there's plenty to learn. There's lots of literature out there too. It's become quite widely accepted, I think, and in my time and seeing it in different vineyards, it's a very effective tool.
So I just want to thank Mark Allen and Stephen McKenzie for their time and coming all the way from New Zealand, and especially for Stephen for letting us use their machine on their property today. Thank you very much for watching our taster video, and if you want to find out more, please click on the link down below. So welcome. We're actually back at Angullong, and as you can see, it's harvest time. And so I'm here with Stephen again, just to see the results of our mechanical shake workshop that we did do in November. So just, Stephen, how was the season? Do you think that it was a botrytis bunch rot inducing season that we've experienced this year?
Yeah, not necessarily so far. So yeah, it was a pretty good season for botrytis in the end. We did have a lot of pressure through flowering, so we've done the flowering sprays as we usually do. But yeah, late in the season there hasn't really been botrytis pressure. We have just had a significant rainfall event over the last few days now, so it will be interesting to see if there is pressure in the next few days. But it's been a pretty low pressure year for botrytis in the end, as it turns out. But the same as any preventative spray program, we do the mechanical shaking every year. It has proven that in the higher pressure years that we will have 50% less botrytis is a sort of rough number that we've seen in our vineyard with the way that we do it.
So the wineries you sell to do have a percentage amount of botrytis or even bunch rot that they indicate that they won't purchase the fruit for you?
Yeah, so it's all on visual assessment. But typically all the buyers will come here and have a look at the fruit for themselves. And additionally they'll assess it when it arrives at the winery as well. Yeah, so if we have clean fruit, then that's the goal.
So that's an additional motivation to run the harvester through for you guys.
Certainly, yeah. It's a reasonably low cost input for what we get out of it. Is, you know, sort of 2 seasons out of 5. Perhaps we don't see much result of it because there hasn't been botrytis pressure. But certainly 2 or 3 seasons out of those 5 gives us a lot cleaner fruit.
Perfect.
Here we are in our Pinot Gris block where we've done our mechanical shaking for the trash removal. So on my right hand side is a control row where we haven't shaken the vines, and on the left is one where we have. So let's have a look at what we can see. You see in the very middle of this bunch here, there's some undeveloped berries. But yeah, so this is the goal with the mechanical shaking. We're trying to remove these berries. So we haven't had the botrytis pressure this year, but if we had, it'd be these berries that are causing the issue.
And they would have fallen out if we had treated this all shaken.
Yeah, so we don't get 100% of it, but we get a lot of this material. So you can see almost on every berry there is a significant amount of trash in there, in the vines that we haven't shaken. So here's a bunch off a row that we did do the shaking on. So let's have a look inside and we'll just see if we can find a bit less trash than what we found on our control row. So what I can't see, so there is a stem there, flowering material there. There's no undeveloped berries that I can see. So that's the main thing that we are trying to remove with our mechanical shaking, is those undeveloped berries. It's compared to the flower cap, it's a large piece of trash, and we find that's what damages the integrity of the berry originally, and that's where, for us, that's where we get the most botrytis pressure. So we haven't seen a significant difference this year because we have very low pressure. In the higher pressure years, we definitely keep the fruit cleaner, a bit better quality, and a bit more marketable.
So when's harvest coming up?
Perhaps in 10 to 14 days or so.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on it over the next few days and just see. But I think having the reduction of the trash within the bunch and reducing that amount of inoculum, at least then the percentage of botrytis that would occur would be significantly different between the two rows. Would
Yep.
you agree with
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. We can see in the control rows that there is more berries that don't have the structural integrity. The trash has made the skins conform, and so there's visibly more damaged berries in our control section. So we think that the job has been worthwhile and done a pretty good job, even though we don't have the botrytis this year.
Yeah, perfect. So fingers crossed, no more rain for the season, and we harvest the Pinot Gris successfully. So, but thanks again for having us back out here.
Thank you.